Welcome to the Konglish Talk podcast, a chill talk show brought to you by some States girl and Korean guy living in Korea. My name is Leah.
And I'm Diaz, and today's topic is working ethics.
Yes.
Because as we talked the last time, she could do part-time jobs really a lot, and she had a lot of experience, and she's now working in here. So we're gonna talk about that. Don't forget to follow us and set the alarm.
Yeah, so actually I was kind of inspired to talk about this because I saw a brief article from the Korea Herald talking about how South Korea's working hours decreased 10%. 10% over a decade. And so in it said despite the decrease in average annual hours worked, which is 3 times faster than the OECD. Yeah, it showed that South Korea was still high up on the list after Mexico with annual working hours. It topped over 2,000. But anyway, so I really wanted to talk about this because I feel like and I'm talking generally, a lot of Koreans are workaholics. And America is too. America's really bad with it. And I know that for people who live in Europe who have better vacation time and have more flexibility, they come and work in America or Korea and they're like, this is crazy. So I wanted to talk about that because America's number 12 on the list.
I also know that Korea is one of the top country from almost every country working hour per week. So, and what I know about the state working environment is, what I know will be constrained to the Silicon Valley or some IT companies or engineering stuff. But they also work really fucking hard. That's what I know about. But yeah, what she talked about is seriously true. Korea started a law that it's called 52시간제, 52 hours law,
Yes.
Which means that you have to, if you are an employer, you have to let your employees work less than 52 hours or you're gonna be charged or there will be some penalty to your company. But still, we are known as a really workaholic country.
One of the things that, and I can only really speak of being a private school teacher here in Korea, and I teach kindergarten age, so I'm working in the morning, so I can't really speak for people who are working at hagwons that, English hagwons for, there's ones for business people, there's ones for high school age, middle school age, elementary school, and those people are usually working 1 to 9 or 2 to 9 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the one of the big problems is that when it comes to vacation time, I mean, we got lucky because the government made it so that at first the government said if you have this many employees, you have to give them the red days off, red days being national holidays. Originally, if you worked at a smaller company, you wouldn't get that. But now I think they made it mandatory for everybody in certain sectors. Have to have those red days, and that was only implemented in the last year or so. So luckily we get that, but I mean, when it comes to personal time, public school has it much better. Private, we don't really get personal time. Actually, we don't get personal time. Because we don't have a substitute system set in place. We have certain teachers that teach certain classes.
Yeah.
So if that teacher isn't there that day, they can't have that class.
Yeah.
That can't happen.
That will be a problem.
Yeah, so I mean, especially for me, I only get 2 sick days in the year.
Oh.
2. But it really sucks that there's no personal time. So if you need to get stuff done, because, you're working during the day, if you have to go to the bank or you have to go somewhere, you can't just go and get stuff done during the day. Mm-hmm. And as for vacation time, well, since we work in private school, we operate all year round. So there's only certain days that we get off, and the school chooses those days.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only 10.
10 days?
Yeah.
So you have 10-day vacations per year.
Yeah. including red days that everyone gets off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Korea. But talking about that, like, Korea has more red days than other countries, like Thanksgivings, and we have New Year's Day for 3 days, and we have some, like, other holidays. But still, you don't have, like, you cannot choose your free time. That's the bad thing. So we were talking about the working times and the holidays, and let me talk about this. In these states, do you get laid off easily?
I think it definitely depends on the company,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it's pretty common, honestly, I think. It does depend on the company that you're working for,
Mm-hmm.
and it depends on whatever job sector you happen to be in.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, yeah.
This will be like 1 decade ago, but if you get your job, then that will be your whole life job if you want. Company is not that easy to make you laid off or fire you unless you made a really serious bad thing or if you got in charge, like in going to jail. But there's a company environment that when someone didn't promote it and someone isn't making better progress with their job, then company and their coworker will make an environment that he has to go out by himself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like bullying. So
Oh, wow.
that's a little bit bad. Not a little bit bad. That's a serious thing.
Actually, there's a term that's being thrown around recently that's being like introduced, especially like in the work environment in America, called quiet quitting, where people are kind of like slowly like not putting as much effort into their job because they're not getting paid well or they're not getting like the benefits that they're supposed to, they're not being valued as much at work, stuff like that, but they're not saying out loud like I'm gonna quit.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not like outwardly saying anything, and they're just like finding a job, another kind of job on the side, and then they suddenly quit. But I feel like that's always kind of happened. And then people are also saying there's quiet firing, where I'm pretty sure it is what you're kind of describing, even if it's subtle, like managers or bosses or whatever making an environment that's like, not really the greatest to encourage the employee that they don't really want to quit. Whether that be by not promoting them or like purposefully not promoting them and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that people who aren't doing very well at their job, I'm not saying that they deserve to get promoted. However, I do think that there is like, I don't know, it just like feels insidious to me when we're talking about people that are like, just trying to, I think people want to feel useful at work. I just think that the morale is so low because of the economy and how people are kind of treated at work and everybody's struggling to survive,
Yeah, that is a problem, yeah. As she said, I think quiet quitting is also happening in Korea too, even if you get into a really big company. And yeah, quiet quitting and quiet firing is like becoming worldwide.
Yeah. I do briefly kind of also want to talk about boundaries at work, actually, and like the relations between like workers with each, like coworkers and managers.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when it comes to work culture in that sense, America is becoming a little bit better, especially as the younger generations are starting to enter into managerial positions where people are a little bit less formal. Mm-hmm. They're obviously polite, but conduct themselves in a professional manner, like for business. But I do think it's becoming much more sort of, I think it's a little bit more laid back in terms of how we talk to our coworkers and our managers. Mm-hmm. I know we talked about this before, but like in America, and of course this depends on your boss as well, but it's usually encouraged to be able to challenge your manager with like a new way of thinking or a new idea about something, as long as it's brought up in a polite way. But in Korea, depending on the company you work for, maybe a startup is more, relaxed from what I've heard.
Yeah,
Startups,
they
the
are more
recent startups in
flexible.
Korea. Yeah, but I know that in like still in probably the traditional companies like Samsung and all of that, it's a lot more up and down.
Except R&D, because R&D should be really flexible when it comes to like idea selecting,
Mhm.
idea promoting pace. So yeah,
Oh, that's
R&D is
good.
more like flexible, but other places will be more restrict, and sometimes the company environment goes really restrict so that your boss might interrupt your personal life too. But these
Mhm.
days, luckily, younger generation in Korea is getting more like cutting the lines so that
Mhm.
they say, I don't wanna get interrupted with my privacy, or that's none of your business, like that. So
Mhm.
we are getting more privacy regarding to the older generations. Yeah.
What about how about like huishik where people are going out for dinner
Mm-hmm.
after work and like I know that at least like back in the day or like not or I shouldn't say back in the day but like a few years ago or whatever, I don't know how long, but like it would be really common to go out every week with your boss and like have
Mm.
this dinner and like you would have to drink and like all of that, and it's like cutting into people's personal time and like they get drunk and then they have to go into work the next day really hungover and like all this stuff.
Company group gathering and drinking party will be more well translated, I guess. Yeah, as she said, when you go with your boss, you had to drink. I mean, when you go there like over 10 years ago, you have to go, you have to drink, or your boss might see you as a bad guy, like an oh, he doesn't take my order, blah blah blah. So that
Mhm.
well, going to 회식 was really important for your promoting and getting paid more and survive from that company. That was really important. But now these days, your boss might say, "Let's go 회식, and if you don't want to go, you can go. I'm not gonna bother you." But anyway, but by the way, if you go to 회식, the whole money comes from your company, so you don't have to get paid. That could be a nice thing, cause
Mhm.
free dinners.
True.
And even if you go to 회식 these days, many companies don't let you drink mandatorily. So if you don't
That's
want
really good.
if you don't want to, you don't have to. Well, for me, even if I'm in a laboratory as an undergraduate researcher, my professor
Mhm.
sometimes say, "Let's go for dinner." But well, he when he wants to drink, then he says drink. But these days, he says, "Let's go out for dinner." But we don't drink that much, so even if we are working with old generation, professors, but the form of Hasic culture is getting better and better these days. So yeah.
That's really good. I know I had like we don't really now it depends on the size of the company you work for in the US. Like I'm sure if you're working somewhere that makes a crap ton of money like Google or something like that. Well, first of all, their office is insane. So you're going to have like freaking chefs making your shit. I don't know, but like but like but like if you're working at like a moderate company, like once in a while they'll like bring sometimes like they'll cater lunch in. So like they'll bring food from outside
Mhm.
into the office for people during lunch.
Mhm.
And like sometimes you might go for dinner, but usually that's sent in like an invite ahead of time and you don't have to go. So like they'll just like send it via email on Microsoft Teams or something. I mean, that's how the company I work for functioned at least. So you didn't have to go, but yeah, but like you could sign up for that. That didn't happen a lot though because it is expensive. The most they'll do is maybe do like an office party, or maybe they'll cater something in.
Mhm.
And usually if you go like out at like a restaurant, it's usually because you're I don't know, maybe there's a really special event or you happen to be higher up in a company
Mhm.
and so you go with like a smaller executive team of people.
I think the main difference comes from when you go out with your team, that will, is that a working time or not, will be the best thing. Like in the States, they don't want to get interrupted their night time or like an out of work time. So
Yeah.
company offers you for chance to get into the night party, but you don't have to go. But in Korea, even if when you get off from the work, you need to like get friendly with your teammates so that we go out and we drink together. So that kind of culture comes from. I think that's the main difference, but yeah. But thinking of that, the younger generation is getting more westernized in Korea too, so that the Hesi culture is changing in a good way. Oh, by the way, I didn't say this on the first disclaimers. Well, I think it's only late, but you know, for disclaimers who have seen this video until now, I really appreciate with that, but this is just our opinion, and I hope you didn't get offended by our opinion. This is all for this week, and we're gonna see you on next week. Woo!
Don't forget to subscribe.